Mr. Lee Wai Kong and Miss Mas Anita had a tenancy agreement which both have agreed that if the rent is late or unpaid for more than 14 days, the landlord shall have the authority to re-enter the premise, and he also shall determine the term of the tenancy. Nonetheless, Miss Mas Anita failed to pay the rent, which amounting to 6,759 ringgit, including interest. When Mr. Lee went to the premise, he found that it was locked. The neighbor also told Mr. Lee that Miss Mas Anita was last seen leaving the premise with a large suitcase. After filing a complaint to the police, Mr. Lee seized the vacant possession, but to his surprise, the premise was in an abandoned state with spoiled food and also filthy refrigerator found. Miss Mas Anita then claimed that Mr. Lee has no legal right to terminate her contract and re-enter her house. He also has no right to dispose her personal belongings. Now, following this event, both have applied for mediation to settle their dispute.
Good day. I beg to both of you, Miss Mas Anita and Mr. Lee Wai Kong. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Genevieve, and this is my co-counsel, Nasrin. You may call me Miss Jen and her Miss Nasrin. We are the mediators which both of you have agreed to elect to conduct this mediation section. Allow me to welcome and congratulate both of you for choosing mediation as a platform for you here at the Malaysian Mediation Center today to settle your disputes. Before we start, may both of you introduce yourself?
Yes, good afternoon and good day, Ms. Chan and Ms. Nasrin. My name is Mas Anita Abdullah, and you can address me as Anita. And I'm the tenant or the lawful occupier of the premises. Thank you.
Hello, Miss Chen and also Miss Nasrin. I am Lee Wai Kwong, and you can address me as Mr. Lee, the owner of the premises.
Thank you, Miss Anita and Mr. Lee. To begin with, since this is our first session, thus today we would like to explain what can be expected throughout our mediation process, what were the rules, what are the available modes, and means at the end of our session available to settle this issue, and last but not least, our roles. Now, continuing our section, I will first explain the mediation roles that are my roles and Nasrin's roles. Both of us will help facilitate, guide, and assist both of you in achieving a mutually agreeable solution through identifying the issues that both of you face, and later with your consent and your agreeable to the solution. We can expect a mediation process achieving a good means for both of your benefits. During the entire process of our mediation section, it will be conducted in a safe, private, and confidential manner. Moreover, Nasrin and I will remain impartial and non-judgmental, which means we will only oversee the mediation process by facilitating your conversation and to help each of you to think, communicate, and comprehend in a clearer view, whilst at the same time allowing Miss Anita and Mr. Lee to negotiate with each other without unnecessary hindrance. However, we as a mediators will make sure that the negotiation outcomes will be justice for both of you and it does not go against the law. Throughout this process, please be noted that we are a neutral party with no prior relationship with any of the parties. But please do let us know if we are not being neutral at one point.
Yes, all right. Thank you for clarifying, Ms. Chen.
Will do, Miss Chen.
All right, good. Now, my co-counsel Nas will explain further the mediation process.
Okay, right. Thank you, Ms. Genevieve. So welcome and thank you again to both of you, Ms. Mas Anita and also Ms. Lee, for choosing mediation. My name is Nasrin and you can call me Ms. Nasrin. I would like to continue our session by explaining the means of mediation so that each of you have the clearer picture of what a mediation process is all about. So generally, mediation is a voluntary process in which by the end of this mediation, the solution outcome will be a voluntary agreement between both of you. Since this is a voluntary process, In case one of you wishes to terminate this mediation, you can do so as per our agreement form. Okay, our mediation process will be divided into 4 sessions. First, we will begin with the mediator opening statement, and later in the second session, we will continue with the opening statement for each of the parties, in which here you may put all the details of your situation, and later we will enter into a joint session in which the mediator will clarify and summarize all the facts shared by both of you to make sure that we understood precisely of your position. So at some point in our discussion as well, we will break into separate groups to have more private sessions. Then what we will be doing here was that each of the mediator, me and Ms. Genevieve, will have a private session with each of you where we will conduct further detailed questioning, and as the party, you may wish to disclose private information that you do not necessarily want to disclose to the other party. But worry not, whatever have been disclosed in our session will remain confidential as per our agreement before. And moreover, we will remain unprejudiced, neutral to any information disclosed. And next, we will also meet again together and come up with solutions. After we have finalized all the solutions, we will write a written agreement for both of you to sign, as this is a requirement under the rules. And we will also not give any advice, but instead we are going to make sure that all parties will stay focused on the issues at hand to reach solutions. Plus, we are also only allowed to attempt in helping both of you to reach satisfactory solution. Thus, all the rights are in your hands as you have the authority to negotiate and settle the problems. But if either of you disagree with whatever you have said, you may make a note and explain your perspective on them when it is your turn. Furthermore, the rules that both of you have to adhere throughout our mediation is that each of you have to be committed on all the issues of time and of authority, because mediation is a process and it takes time to develop. So your commitment is to stay and work on resolving this dispute is very much appreciated. And at the same time, the ground rules to be applied here was that each of you will speak at a time and other party will listen, but no personal oral attacks against each other. And if there is any questions in regards to the mediation, you may interrupt us during the session. So therefore, we hope that this explanation have enabled each of you to understand how mediation works. It is also important to add that everything is confidential and there can be no court action because all the documents provided during the sessions cannot be submitted as evidence. And also, without any delaying, let's begin with the second session of the opening statement with 5 minutes given to each parties to present. May I know who wants to start first?
Okay, so in that case, I go first lah. So I'm the owner, and I've entered into a tenancy agreement with Miss Anita, I think back in 2010, in April, 19 April. There we both accepted and agreed to the terms of the agreement. So because of that, we signed the contract together at the same time and at the same place. And that could only means as well that we are bound to the contract. And also I've put in the tenancy agreement that in case Miss Anita failed to pay the renter for more than 14 days, I shall have the right and power to re-enter into the premise, and thereupon the term of the tenancy shall be absolutely determined. So saying in the current situations right now, Miss Anita unfortunately failed to pay the rental payment. The rental is only for 750 ringgit per month, but now it has accumulated to 6,759 ringgit since she last paid. And now the interest has risen to 8% per annum. Now it has cost for over 408 ringgit. So as the owner of the house, I, with pure heart, you could say, I sent her the notice of demand, demanding her to pay the rental. I think I given her the notice in February 2011, and it requiring her to pay the payment lah. But however, until today, I've given her 7 days to make the payment, but until today she failed to make the payment. So because of that, I think I would have the right to re-enter the land and forfeit the rental deposit. So yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. In your statement, you believe that you have an unrestricted right to cancel the tenancy agreement in accordance with the understanding reached by the parties, re-enter the land again, and forfeit the security deposit. You also have served the notice of demand in accordance to act as a reminder to the tenant to make the payment as soon as possible without any due. But the tenant fails to do so, and you want to claim the rent arrears. Am I right, Mr. Lee?
Yes, absolutely correct, Miss Jen. Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. And now let us hear from Miss Anita.
All right, thank you, Ms. Jen. So in my opinion, according to the tenancy agreement, it clearly shows that the agreement is still valid and effective and has a 1-year duration. Mr. Lee is still not permitted to end our contract and enter the property as his wish and keep the rental deposit, of course. He also have been disposed all my belongings, my furniture that have been kept in the house and without getting my permission, my knowledge, because I have paid for that items using my own money, and it all belongs to me and it not belongs to Mr. Lee. So I would also affirm here that I was on the way from the overseas due to one business conference to Malaysia. So right after I arrived in Kalai Airport, I received a call from the hospital saying that my mom had been admitted to the emergency ward due to a severe heart attack. So in that case, honestly, I did not receive and was not aware of any notice of demand as per stated by Mr. Lee and the outstanding rental due to my personal issues.
Thank you, Miss Anita. And that means you are saying that Mr. Lee cannot just dispose your belongings and equipment without your permission because you are the ones have purchased them with your own money and were unaware of the notice of demand and repeated unpaid rent because of personal concerns. Is that correct, Miss Anita?
Yes, correct. You got it right, Ms. Chen.
So by saying that, we have done the opening statement stage. So I'd like to begin now. Each of you can explain your perspective on the situation. And if it's all right, shall we begin with Ms. Lee first?
Yes, sure.
So see that both parties agree, then we will hear from Ms. Anita when Ms. Lee finish.
All right, so thank you, Ms. Nas. So here I would like to emphasize that I had always had a long-standing and happy relationship with Miss Anita. She was a good tenant, and I couldn't understand why she would have gone missing so suddenly and was unable to pay the rent on time. On top of that, she was not replying to my notice that I've given to her. So because of that, I was so devastated and annoyed because I'm not getting the money and she was not replying. She was also found missing. I want to further mediate the issue of claiming the outstanding payment with the interest as non-compliance of the payment by Miss Anita herself, which eventually it resulted me in loss, and subsequently I have to breach the contract. Yes.
All right, on my side of part, I would say thank you once again, Ms. Nas. So in order to resolve the damages suffered by myself due to Mr. Lee dispose my belongings, my furniture, my items and property in the house, I would like to claim 5,000, Mr. Lee, as the compensation and would like to remain in the premises by paying all the rent areas. In fact, Mr. Lee, I wish to maintain and preserve the good relationship between you and myself. Before I lost my job and having financial trouble due to my mom's health, I had been paying the rent as agreed upon under the tenancy agreement on time. And I never had any trouble paying the rent previously, right, Mr. Lee? Hence, I agreed to mediate this matter and resolve it with Mr. Lee peacefully. So I hope by attending this mediation settlement, both parties, which is Mr. Lee and myself, will be satisfied with a settlement agreement that would benefit both parties.
Thank you, Ms. Lee and Ms. Anita.
As presented by both Mr. Lee and Ms. Anita in discussion just now, the mediators have listed all issues surrounding both parties today. As you can see in the screen, the issues are listed according to its priority. However, both Mr. Lee and Ms. Anita can choose the order of the issues, and this will be the agenda of our discussion today. Do any of you would like to make any changes in the order of the agenda?
No, for me, no, all good.
I think me too. All is good.
Right. As you can see in the screen, the three issues are claim of arrears of rental due, damages due to loss of personal possessions, and extension of tenancy agreement. Are these correct?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, that's right, Ms. Jen.
So the first issue is about the claim of arrears of rental due. You may begin to explain your perspective in this matter, Mr. Lee. And after you finish, we will hear from Ms. Anita if there are disagreements with this matter. Please make a note of them and explain your opinions when it is your turn. So, Mr. Lee, you may.
So, just mentioned previously, Miss Anita has yet to complete her outstanding payment of the rental due, which amounted to 6,759 ringgit. We did agree before in our agreement that it is under my discretion as to how long should the tenancy last if my tenants fail to pay the rental fees. Miss Anita, in this case, cannot argue my act because I am the landlord and the house was not in a good condition even when I first entered into the premise. It is only right that she pays the outstanding payment, and taking into considerations of the conditions of the house, I would think that other landlords do the same, like what I want to. So yeah.
Yes, I understand where you are coming from, Mr. Lee. But don't you think that it would be unfair for me that the contract of the tenancy is ended before I could offer you an explanation to redeem myself? I was not in a good place when this happened. There is no way I could go back leaving my mom in such condition.
Yes. I'm sorry, Miss Anita, but we did inform you through the notice of demand that I sent to you. It is your responsibility to at least inform us, or at least me, of your condition. However, you failed to do so. So it is only right that I claim our possession and end our contract.
You cannot do that, Mr. Lee. Our contract is still intact and it will end in 2012. I still want to stay in the house. Even if the contract ends, that does not make you entitled to remove all my belongings too, right? It was my own personal belongings. Ones that I bought it with own money, my own money, Mr. Lee. One that I gained through my hard work. I feel like I should claim damages for all the damages of my personal belongings from you, Mr. Lee, because all it amounted to 5,000. And you cannot just end the contract just like that. I still have 1 year left. The period of the tenancy still left 1 year, and I would really like to resume the contract, Mr. Lee.
I feel like it's only right if we were to have a private session with each of you in order for us to dig deeper into this matter. But worry not, each of you will have an equal time for this private session. If you don't mind, Mr. Lee, I will start my private session with Ms. Anita first.
All right.
Okay.
Ms. Anita, it seems that both parties are not able to come into conclusion. So this private session is important for us involved. If I may ask, is there anything you would like to share with us, which you cannot share with Mr. Lee? If please do so. Don't worry, because this will be kept between both of us, unless consented.
Yes, thank you, Miss Jen. I appreciate that we have this private session between us. I felt at ease this week. I feel like Mr. Lee did not understand where I was coming from. I was actually laid off by my company, and then my mom was admitted to the emergency ward due to severe heart attack. I have to spend a lot of money to pay for my mom's treatment fee. Months later, I was having a terrible financial difficulties, and currently I'm staying in my parents' house. I left the house abruptly, and I could not clean the house before I went straight to the hospital. I have so much on my plate, and I just need time to pay for the rental due. Plus, I just got offered a new job, but the salary is lower than the previous job. But still, I want my personal belongings back and resume my contract, Jen.
I'm sorry that you had to go through such difficult time, Miss Anita. I hope you are in a good place now. What would you do if you were the other party where the house is in a mess condition and the arrears rents had been due for many months?
I know it's my fault that I do not keep the house clean, and I did not pay the arrears for rental. That I admit, but I also wish if Mr. Lee could understand my situation as well.
I understand, Miss Anita. Would it be okay if I share this information with Mr. Lee? I will spend the details and mention that you are facing financial difficulties and family matters briefly.
Yeah, sure, Miss Jen. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your patience, Mr. Lee. So before we start, please be assured that this private session too is confidential and it will only be disclosed with your consent. Do you have any satisfaction with our meeting just now?
To be frank, since the house was not in a good condition, I needed the rental money to repair the house because, as you can see, Miss Anita left the house in an abandoned state. There was food that had perished, and the refrigerator was so dirty that it smelled so bad. I ended the contract because I cannot stand to have a tenant like that in my property, using my property. So you have to understand that as well. I have to maintain the market price of the house, hence why I ended the contract early, to protect my interest and for other people's as well.
I understand that. So I think it's also relevant for me to mention to you, Mr. Lee, that Miss Anita is actually dealing with her family matters and also financial issues. And from that time, and also she's still struggling now, actually. So what would you do if you were in her shoes? Can you also guarantee that you are right regarding the market price of the house?
Poor Miss Anita. I'm really sorry to hear that. I think I would reconsider my decision about the market price. I guarantee I am right, as I am the agent of this whole building. the cleanness of the building will affect the market price of the building. I believe no one wants to buy or live in a dirty premise. For an example, no one wants to live beside a premise or have a neighbor who cannot keep their house. So yeah.
Sure, I understand where you are coming from, Mr. Lee. So thank you so much. I will call Miss Anita then to further negotiate this matter and come into conclusion. Thank you.
All right.
All right, Miss Anita and Mr. Lee, thank you for your private sessions. It seems that the both of you have personal issues regarding the matter at hand. Miss Anita may be struggling in a way Mr. Lee may not understand and vice versa. I think there is a lack of communications between both of you regarding the struggles. Anita may be facing financial difficulties where the company left her off thus failing to pay the arrears. Although she has a new job, she received a lower amount of salary compared to her previous job, as well as her personal issues where her mother falls sick. She also suffered loss of her personal belongings due to Mr. Lee's wrongdoings. On the other hand, Mr. Lee struggles to collect the rental arrears as well as maintaining the house market price. I believe that we can come up with a solution today that will satisfy both of you. Mr. Lee, you may elaborate on a solution that you deem fit that is best for yourself and also for Miss Anita.
Okay. So now that I know of Miss Anita financial situation and also personal issue, I see that 6,759 ringgit of the outstanding payment of the rental, and also with the interest of 8%, that will eventually cost more than 408 ringgit. May seem a bit high, so I suggest that Miss Anita to make the total payment of 6,800 ringgit only, which is the errors in rental through 2 equal installments. I think that's good enough within 28 days with the interest included, as calculated in the settlement agreement. And I will also give a lease extension lah, kalau macam tu, if like that, of another 1 year, where the tenancy agreement will end on 19 March 2013, I think. But with the conditions that the rental payment are fully paid and the house is kept clean and tidy also. For the compensation of personal belongings, I think Miss Anita can be entitled to 3,500 ringgit due to the cost of depreciation after years of using the item. So yeah.
After a long consideration, maybe I have agreed upon the agreement, Mr. Lee.
I'm glad that we are able to come up with a solution for both of you. Thank you so much for working together with us in finding a mutual solution. And before we end this, would you please review the settlement agreement to mediate and other appropriate paperwork I have emailed you. And in this agreement, we have included all the things that we have agreed today. And Ms. Anita, when you sign this agreement, you needed to comply with all the conditions made by Mr. Lee. And this applies to you as well, Mr. Lee. And in the event that either party breach any term in the agreement, the aggrieved party may sue the defaulting party for the breach of the agreement. And if everything is okay, please sign at the end of the agreement and kindly please send a copy to us to our email address.
Thank you to both of you. I would like to congratulate to both of you for being able to reach a solution. Before we end today's session, would any of you want to add anything?
I would like to say something. Okay. Things don't come easy, and working hard to earn money is just part of life lah. I hope you can forgive me and any wrongdoings on my behalf. I hope to see you can get a good job from a good company with a high pay. I hope your mother recovers soon as well, Miss Anita. Thank you for the amicable session today. Not to forget to Miss Jen and also to Miss Nas as well.
So thank you so much for the kind words and advice, Mr. Lee. And not to forget Miss Jen and Miss Nas, who plays a major role in this session today. I truly apologize for my mistake, and I can assure that it will not happen again.
Thank you once again, Ms. Anita and also Ms. Lee, for your tremendous effort and cooperation for today's session. I would also like to remind again that if any party breached the mediation agreement, the default party may be sued. So with that, we shall end our session today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.